Look, guilt tripping is already the worst form of coercion, but when it's 3 deceased children begging you to put yourself in danger to find their souls because they don't want to do the legwork for themselves, that's a special level of manipulation. And that's where Coraline's found herself today, because the Ghost Kids, Pioneer Girl, Huck Finn Jr., and the Little Rascals chick have all requested that Coraline stop trying to live her life in order to fix the consequences of their own choices. And yeah, I'm not having it. At least not until someone gives me a credible explanation as to why the kids can't leave that room and explore that 4-block-long planet on their own. Also, I know the other world isn't technically a planet. It's more like a void of a pocket dimension, but it's circular, so that's the title that rolls off the tongue a little better. Anyways, now that a mysterious person in a mask has ripped Coraline from out behind the mirror, let's find out what her next move is and judge it harshly. Hey everyone, I'm Megan. This is the Fangirl channel, and please indulge me by leaving a comment on whether you prefer content based on animation or horror. Also, I had a shower thought realization. When the cat is walking with Coraline in the void and he tells her that he believes the beldam just wants something to love, something that isn't herself, which would have to mean that the other father, other Wybie, and the rest are in fact puppets and not sentient, because otherwise they would be living beings to love that aren't the beldam. And because animals have senses that humans don't, and the cat is very proud of that, I think he knows that's the case, that none of the others can fully think for themselves. Anyways, into today's scene. Coraline was just given a huge surprise when a pair of gloved hands reached behind the wall and released her from the small room behind the mirror. She gasps in a way that feels more terrified than any previous moment in the film. And with good reason. Nobody wants to be abducted. From Coraline's perspective, someone in a mask is about to do who knows what to her. And Coraline is not going down without a fight. Okay, real talk. Save a life here. If someone grabs you like that, physics-wise, your best bet is to kind of turn into lead and sink to the ground. Go down hard. Change that center of gravity and hopefully slip through their arms while kicking and screaming your way to freedom. If this had been me, I would have been biting this SOB. I do not play. Sure, we as viewers have a good idea that it's other Wybie because we can see his hair and his size, but you know, if you're gonna sneak up on somebody, you get what you get and you deserve it. Coraline clearly looks back to see the size of who's grabbed her, and I believe the intention is that she slams him against the wall and then violently flips him over her shoulder into the other wall. Like, Coraline is not messing around. By her stance, she has definitely taken some self-defense classes. Then Coraline rips the shredded kitchen oven mitt off of other Wybie's face, and Coraline, realizing who it is, loudly calls out, "Wybie?" because she's in shock while other Wybie is showing us his stitched up smile and then quickly cowers to cover his face, as if he's embarrassed to be seen with the stitches, which doesn't make a lot of sense. He's literally made out of chopped up wood pieces. Why does he feel something like shame? He wasn't embarrassed over the cotton candy cannon, so why would he be embarrassed over something he can't control? I don't know, it's just really weird. Here's another thing that I find extra interesting too. In this moment, Coraline isn't calling him other Wybie. He's just Wybie. So she sees that creature as a friend, which proves that this is what the other mother was going for by dropping the other from her name. She wanted Coraline to impulsively see her in this way where there is no distinction in her brain between her real mother and the other mother. And while that didn't work with the beldam, it did work with other Wybie, didn't it? Gee, it's like he almost feels like a backup plan. Like a puppet trying to play on Coraline's sympathies. So Coraline kneels down and takes a closer look at the ties holding up Wybie's face, and Coraline looks genuinely concerned and caring as she removes the strings. Although these bits aren't tied in very tightly. They're almost like twist ties. I mean, it's not like Coraline had to go get bolt cutters to take them off. Yet, other Wybie chose not to remove the strings himself. Why would that be? You can't claim that he's afraid of the beldam finding out and hurting him, because if that were really the case, he wouldn't be defying her by releasing Coraline right now. No, something about this sits very badly for me, especially when the beldam is shown to have nothing else to do other than fixate on Coraline. Yet the beldam doesn't hear the yelling or feel the vibrations from the wall being slammed against. If you pluck a spider's web, it comes to investigate. So the other mother not immediately running down the steps says to me that this is another example of the beldam puppeting a body, and that other Wybie is not a sentient being who's acting out of concern here. But as other Wybie rubs his cheeks and Coraline tries to say that she hopes his face feels better, he shushes her and then grabs Coraline's hand and runs through the hallway into the bugged out living room, and then the two kids knock the giant beetle dresser sideways, clearing the path to the tiny door. Again though, we've seen that these furniture pieces move on their own, yet suddenly they're all powered down and not doing anything to upright themselves or hinder Coraline's escape at all. And it isn't until the dresser thuds over that we hear a distant call out in the other mother's voice asking, "Coraline, is that you?" So one, the beldam didn't hear anything else going on until we get to this dramatic escape. Two, why isn't the beldam confident that her own magical room behind the mirror can hold Coraline when it's supposedly held at least 3 other kids for their entire lives? And 3, the beldam is supposed to be able to see through button eyes, right? Yet the beldam suddenly can't see through the button eyes when that entire bug furniture room is filled with button eyes? The math doesn't math here, and that's why I think it's all staged. And my belief is further backed up by Coraline opening the tiny door and seeing an entirely different pathway than before. This tunnel isn't lit in cool colors and filled with wonder. It's filled with dusty cobwebs and old items. From what I can make out, there's a toy boat, 1 knitted mitten, an old-timey cap, overalls and a shirt, and 1 shoe that's in a style that was most popular in the 1950s and 60s. I believe they're called saddle shoes. But here's the disturbing thing. None of those items match up to what the ghost kids have on. The sweet ghost girl has some type of Mary Jane's on, kind of like she was at a picture day before she took off to the other world for good. The pioneer girl doesn't have matching saddle shoes either. And Huck Finn Jr. has suspenders, not overalls like you'd wear if you were a farmer. All of the ghost kids we saw look like they were pretty upper class-ish. But all of these are items that were lost by other kids who were trying to escape. But Coraline isn't going to stop and question anything at this point. She just knows that a tunnel equals a path home, and she doesn't stop to think anything through, which makes it very interesting that the beldam is only coming down the stairs at this moment, when a split-second decision has to be made. And Coraline wants other Wybie to leave with her, but he refuses for absolutely no reason. Seriously, tell me one reason he can't go with Coraline if he's not a puppet. Instead, other Wybie pulls off his glove, revealing that he's made up of sawdust or particle board bits, and blows away his own hand. So this is a being that feels pain. He can suffer via stitches in his face, but he also lacks a sense of touch to the point that he can remove his own hand to frivolously demonstrate nothing? That doesn't make any sense. If he's alive, other Wybie could go with Coraline, but he won't because he's a toy that the beldam controls. And Coraline looks as if she really wants to dig deeper for answers, but the beldam is marching down the steps at a pretty slow pace, even though it should not have taken her that long to walk down the stairs. And if she really believed that Coraline escaped from the room behind the mirror, why wouldn't the beldam be running to catch her prey before it got away? There's no real sense of urgency here when the beldam's coming down the stairs. And that's because that tunnel isn't going to the real world. It's taking Coraline deeper down the rabbit hole into the other world. And it's going to be a place where there is no exit to the real world unless Coraline wants to go through the beldam's lair again, which, if she is sufficiently horrified, she will never want to do. However, Coraline still hasn't processed other Wybie not being real, so while she stands there trying to think of the right thing to do, other Wybie shoves Coraline into the tunnel and slams the door behind her as we can hear the beldam looking for her, sounding more and more annoyed. But why wouldn't the beldam be looking for Coraline behind the mirror first, since that's where she left her? It's almost like she knew and this whole thing was orchestrated. But as Coraline is taking all of this in, the fear finally hits her and she tears through the tunnel, swiping away spiderwebs as fast as she can. And as she's running, not crawling, but running, which should be another big tip-off that this isn't the same tunnel, we can see other items stuck to the sides. There's more than I can make out, but I can see a hobby horse, a toy truck, and what looks like a newspaper. Then Coraline charges through the small door so hard that she flips through it, spiderwebs coating her hair, and Coraline is panting before quickly locking the small door, yet not removing the key for some reason, then calls out victoriously, "I'm home!" and dusts spiderwebs off of her face. Oh, and take note that we can see the larger heater under the window right now, which theoretically, that should mean that she's in the real world right now, or at the very least, a third location like the Limbo Pink Palace. And the windows are also clear here. There's no smoke. We can see it's daylight and that it's raining outside. And all three of these details should make us believe that Coraline truly got home. But I'll have more to say about all that next week. Now let's dive into some comments that caught my eye. No, there is no exact logic when it comes to comments I choose to respond to. It's just whatever strikes my fancy when I go looking. So Isaiah Thomas 5885 really liked my theory that the house Coraline walks up to after being in the void is not the same Pink Palace apartments. Instead, it's a new one that's been formed because the black cat is leading Coraline deeper into the beldam's digestive system. And this works with the book because there is not a circular tunnel in the writing. It's a corridor that's like fuzzy and feels like a tongue at one point. And the book has led many readers to think that it's a mouth and the rest of the other world is some kind of a digestive system. I'm not sure if I personally see it all as a big stomach, but I do agree that the cat was given the task to lead Coraline to a different section of the other world to make her escape more impossible. And the tunnel we see in today's scene reinforces that. Then, and I hope I get this right, Sierra in Della 498 brought up the point that the number 3 plays a big role in this movie. Coraline visits the other world 3 times. There are 3 ghost kids who've got 3 eyes turned into 3 wonders. 3 is definitely the magic number in this movie. We even have 3 different kid silhouettes on the wall. There are 3 neighbors at the Pink Palace. Coraline's family unit is 3 people. And when you think about it, Wybie, his grandma, and the cat also make another set of 3. Then there's the beldam, the other father, and other Wybie making a 3-pack. I actually had a really weird dream last night where I thought I heard in the movie one of the characters, I think it was the cat, say there can only be 3 in the other world at one time. And waking up to find this comment, yeah, 3 is a magically haunting number. Next, Beth FF noticed that the beldam's nail polish also changes. When her body morphs, her nail polish goes from red to black, which I completely missed, but she's right. It's like the color drained out of her body entirely as she grew. Last but not least, Peyton C. informed the comment section that it's not sawdust that we're seeing getting poured into the doll at the beginning. It's actually a special compound used for specific projects. And I'm not sure that that changes anything in what we've talked about, but I found that so incredibly interesting I had to share. Thanks for sharing, guys. Until next time, I might be overthinking it, but that's literally my job. And to any of my members here on YouTube, a huge bottom of my heart thank you for all of your help and support. If you would like to become a paid channel member, there is a link in the description below. Thanks again, guys. Love you. Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.